I'd love to know, for a coach, for someone that spent their life in football, what does it mean to you that the types of things that you wanted to do offensively have lived on beyond your career as a coach?
Oh, it's very flattering. I think our guys, when we put that stuff together, it's very sound, and nothing hit the field unless it was true. Time we put it to a test of a lot of things actually on the board before we got to the field. So it's very sound. The stuff that we would try that nobody done before, we worked through it, and we weren't smarter than anybody. We just weren't afraid to be different, and I think that sets some things in motion. But with the computers the way they are now, in those days you had to physically get a beta tape, look at it, transfer it to another tape, and it's very cumbersome. So you couldn't get information of what everybody was doing that week off and look at some different ideas. You couldn't do that. It's not enough time, Now you punch it into the computer and it pops up. So I think there's a lot of shared thoughts going on through the league that are very good. I think it's healthy. We didn't have that ability. But the thing I love about Chicago right now and Ben is, first of all, I think he's a once-in-a-generation coach. I think he's very unique. To hit a home run with him, I think he'll be there for a very long time. He'll be extremely successful, and he's the one guy that can take Caleb and help him make that transition to become not just a good quarterback, but a great quarterback. So the Bears, first of all, got it right here. They got that duo that should be together for quite some time and have a lot of success. But his approach to the game, I felt like, is somewhat similar than what we did. I think he's better than I ever was, but I love the running game, the power running game, the coming off the ball in double teams. The physical part of that has been lost in the league for a while, and using fullbacks and move guys, and then he does a great job of the quarterback in teaching him, getting him in a rhythm, quick with the football, making the position a little bit simpler than perhaps it's been for him in the past. And I can't speak highly of it. He was, when I saw him down in Miami, I was blown away by his inquisitiveness. He asked questions about stuff that we did that I'd never been asked before by other coaches, which gave me a kind of a look into, just how sharp he was. And, he really was a sponge for everything.
We're in the middle of a conversation with Mike Martz, and we're going to continue that conversation, but some news did break in the middle of us introducing Mike onto the show. And breaking news on the score is brought to you by Wildfire. Join Wildfire Restaurants as they celebrate 30 years of serving delicious food and creating memories. As part of an open letter that Bears president and CEO Kevin Warren put out, it is on the team's website if you want to read the whole thing. They are opening back up the idea of a new stadium, and they have added into the mix, along with Cook County and obviously the site they have in Arlington Heights, Northwest Indiana. Here is a quote. "This is not about leverage. We spent years trying to build a new home in Cook County. We invested significant time and resources evaluating multiple sites and rationally decided on Arlington Heights. Our fans deserve a world-class stadium. Our players and coaches deserve a venue that matches the championship standard they strive for every day. With that in mind, our organization must keep every credible pathway open to deliver to that future." Close quote. So the Bears are opening up the opportunity to build the stadium in a couple different places, and now Northwest Indiana is on the map. When we are done talking with Mike, we will get into this. Mike, I'm sorry to interrupt it, but we were caught off guard by the fact that the Bears are thinking about Northwest Indiana as a stadium site.
That's hard to imagine. It's like moving the Packers. Somehow it just doesn't seem. Now, Kevin was my assistant when I first took the job there at the Rams, so I know Kevin very well. He was an executive assistant there for me, and I know Kevin very well. He's very sharp. He's a good guy. But that's a little bit of a surprise.
Oh, no doubt. It is definitely a bit of a surprise because it kind of felt like full steam ahead for Arlington Heights.
I tell you what, it's hard to find a better venue. I've coached in a lot of different places, but I thoroughly enjoyed and look forward to going to games on game day down there. Just a special, special place and a lot of history. It's just hard to imagine not being in that stadium to me.
Yeah, that history you reference, that's a huge part of the appeal that's there, but getting a better venue, having some control over it like the team wants, all those factors that well are part of that conversation.
Sure.
The conversation that we've been having, Mike, about the Bears offense and the fact that you've come up in it so frequently lately. For me, just in looking at Caleb Williams, and of course his physical gifts are unique in many ways, but while you were with the Bears, you did get to work with a quarterback who stylistically has some similar traits, a lot of horsepower in his arm strength, but has some nuance with the way he could throw the football like Jay Cutler, but also the mobility, the ability to, have the coloring outside the lines, that sort of thing, to be creative. What was that process like for you, where you were so known for some of the precision that you and Kurt Warner operated at a high level with the Rams, and then to try to perhaps in some ways refine the way Jay Cutler played the position?
I'd go with Trent Green and of course Kurt and Mark and a number of other quarterbacks, and we've been in that system, and they'd bought into it, and it was very difficult for Jay. It was so contrary to how his approach was. He wanted to hold the ball, he wanted to throw it down the field, and the first year I tried to fit him into what we were doing, and we went to the NFC Championship game and all that, and he was okay, but the next year he got hurt in the 10th game of the season. I think we ended up 7-3 when he got hurt. At that point, I felt like we were the best team in the NFC, and we lost the tailback, the receiver, of course, Johnny Knox, and the quarterback all within a week. And that was it for us. I mean, and so he couldn't really realize. But my point is, we changed everything. I geared everything towards, what Cutler was really good at and what he liked to do, and was not so ingrained with the discipline of being highly refined, tuned in with a tempo. He did some of that, but there's some stuff he just didn't embrace very well. So instead of keeping him, it was just so dumb of me that first year. I should have changed him. I should have changed what I was asking him to do before that, and I didn't. And that second year, he was off to a great start, and then, of course, he got injured. But I think Caleb is a different player. I think he embraces getting it out quick. I do think that the rhythm passing really fits him. He's got a much quicker release than Jay did. He is mobile, very, very accurate. Jay at times was accurate, but there are times that he wasn't so accurate. Caleb, I think, is a very quick rhythm type guy that you can do some of those really highly sophisticated spot throws and, on timing and all that stuff. Some of the stuff that we did with Kurt, and yet he can beat you with his feet. I just think they've got a great player for the first time in Bears history. They've had some good quarterbacks, but I think he can be great, particularly with Ben Johnson.
And it seems that Ben took the approach right off the bat of just throwing everything at Caleb, and that to me has been one of the more impressive aspects of Caleb's development. Is a lot of what he's being tasked with pre-snap, with motions and varying snap counts and personnel groupings, and he seems to be getting all those things down. That you referenced the importance of the run game, and there's so much on the quarterback's plate with that. Now they might be ascending towards a division title, a playoff run, things like that. What are your observations of how Ben has begun to get more and more out of Caleb with putting so much on his plate?
I think he's taken away what we did with all the quarterbacks. He said, hey, forget what you know, which is hard, and start with the discipline of it. And here's what we're doing. And he explain the game on an intimate level. Most of these guys in college, that never happens to them. So you go back and strip away what they think they know, and then you teach them a game at a whole different level. And they start off pretty good, and then when they really get it, oh, okay. What's exciting about it, then you see them start to do things at a whole different level that you can't teach. They see things so much better. There's some throws that Kurt made in there that weren't in the read. He just saw me, just made the throw. Why'd you make it? Why'd you make that throw? I caught it out of my eye. How'd you see that? I don't know. Okay, well, great, nice. And when you get a quarterback to that level, when they've learned the system, and then they move to that part where they can be flexible within that system, which is not where he's yet. He's not there yet, but he will be. That's why I say the organization, I think, is headed to greatness. I really do.
To kind of follow what Big Ann is talking about, and I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way to bring a quarterback along. When you would get guys in the room from every level, when you would get guys in the room, what were the first things that you wanted to know if they knew?
Well, first thing you do is teach them defense. They have to understand. You're going to talk about what he's supposed to do against a defense with this particular play. How can you talk to them unless they really understand intimately all the defense, every defensive structure, how everybody plays cover 3. Every team that plays it different. Cover 8, cover 6, cover 5, 0, 1, 1 route. All those coverages and all the little nuances and all the fronts. Under China, they always do this stunt. They're overstacked with the back. They always do this. So how that matches covered, all that stuff you have to learn before you start to even think about putting a pass play in. And that's the pressure you put on them they've got to know that better than they know offensive football. And when they get to that point, that's why I say they have to know football at an intimate level. And you got to throw all that stuff at them right away and see how much they retain. Those that don't retain it, they're just not going to make it.
The way that things are now progressing with this Bears offense and the rushing attack as a part of it, to see the way the offensive line has gelled so much. And people forget about that greatest show on turf, the role that Marshall Faulk had, not only as a pass receiver, but as a running back. What does that do to take pressure off of your quarterback, not only him as a passer, but off of your offensive line as pass protectors?
The running game is it's layered. It's very complicated because I think today's running game now is geared back toward just in the last year or two towards the way it was 20 years ago, 15 years ago. You got away from all that stupid read zones garbage and all that stuff, the college stuff that's just ruined football for a while there. And now it's back to, it's a little bit more complex. The running game, you have power runs and you can have the zone stuff. And what Ben did such a great job at Detroit, they didn't have a lot, but they did a lot of formationing with it. And they did a lot of power runs inside with a lot of double teams, and they get comfortable with it. And no matter, it got to the point where they knew it was coming, they couldn't do anything about it. And that's kind of where they're headed with the Bears. So instead of doing a whole bunch of different run schemes and all that, which is hard, you want to run fewer stuff and let it run against whatever they line up, because you have answers for it on offense. And that's why I like what he does in the running game.
Mike, we talk with Matt Forte once a week.
Oh, my guy. I love Matt. I just love Matt.
What did you love about Matt?
Everything. There wasn't anything he couldn't do. I kept telling them, this guy's, he's not Marshall, but he does the same kind of things that Marshall can do. I just remember right before we're playing, I can't remember who it was. No, we're playing Detroit at our place in the opener, and he takes a screen like 90 yards for a touchdown in a 2-minute drill, start a 2-minute drill. Who does that? Just running through tackles. He's a big guy with speed, and yet he was elusive, and he pounded, buddy. He would take he just was such a fabulous player. I mean, he was at least 40 to 50% of our offense there. I mean, he just kept getting him the ball any way we could.
Yeah,
in fact, he won that game with a bolts rod down the sideline, caught it in the end zone at the end of the game.
He's a phenomenal analyst for us, and he brought up, and we also had Spice Adams on the show last week, and both of them brought up 2010 finale against the Packers. What do you remember from that?
The playoff game?
The season ender against the Packers that got them into the playoffs. Like, were you guys talking about whether or not you wanted them to get into the play? Was that part of the discussion at all as a coaching staff?
Trying to win the game. No, you're trying to figure out a win. You don't pay attention to that stuff. You're just trying to beat them, any way you can. And I remember we had a drop on a pass out in a key point of the game that was a heartbreaker. But it's tough. It's tough playing up there. They were so good on defense. They gave us a lot of problems. And up front, we weren't as good as we would like to be. Eventually, I think they improved the offense. But we had a couple tackles that were just learning how to play, free agent, rookie, and stuff like that. So we were struggling a little bit. But, we still ended up in the NFC Championship game somehow. So
there's so much excitement about what Ben Johnson is doing with this offense in his first season here, and it ties the room together for Bears fans to hear him reference you as an influence for him. What is an aspect? What's an aspect of your passing attack and some of the success you had that you feel a certain degree of pride that's living on, and that Ben Johnson and others are still utilizing it as a part of their system today?
Well, I was passing the torch from Don Coryell, Ernie Zampese, Norv Turner, and all those guys in the digit system in terms of getting the ball out quick into holes and, making the quarterbacks read simpler instead of keen defenders. You're looking where you want to throw it and get off it if there's color. I see that in what Ben's doing. The ball comes out so much faster. He's very decisive, and that was not Caleb in the past. He wanted to run around with it a little bit and make throws, and the transition that he's made, he's not there yet, but he's on his way, and it's fun. The precision of what he does in the passing game, I guess, is the biggest part that I grab a hold of and and feel like the torch is being passed through. I don't claim to be anywhere near Ben Johnson. I think he's exceptional. I think time will tell. He could end up being as good as there is, but I just can't speak highly enough of him and what he's done there.
Mike, we really appreciate it. This was delightful. Thank you for talking ball with us, and hopefully we can do it again soon sometime.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you,
Coach.
too.